Welcome to Align Christ-Centered Yoga. My name is Linda and I'll be guiding our practice today. My question for you today is, how do you show that you trust God when you are enveloped in darkness? I have an old dog. He is right past the camera right now. And in this moment, he thinks he's going to die. He has old dog vestibular disease, which means that he is very dizzy, he has vertigo, and he is unbalanced, and he's probably a little nauseous. And his response to that is to give up. So he's not eating, and he's not drinking. And I'm force feeding him, and I'm putting droppers of water in his mouth and making sure that he takes his medicine. Because I know that if he holds on for the next 48 hours, that he can fully recover from this. I think often when we are in the middle of darkness and we can't find the way out, that our response, instead of obedience to the things our loving Father is asking us to do, is to give up, is to let the darkness take over. But the psalmist says no. He says, if I say, surely the darkness will hide me, and the light become night around me, even the darkness will not be dark to you. The night will shine like the day, for darkness is as light to you. Our God knows all things, can see all things, will guide us through the darkness. He will either deliver us from it, or he will deliver us through it. And as he delivers us, when he delivers us, we too will see the light. I invite you to come to a sitting position, maybe elevating the hips up on a blanket or a block, finding the sitting bones, rocking a little bit side to side, front to back until you are centered. When I am struggling with trust, I go to the deep hip releases in my yoga practice. These poses of surrender, these poses of letting go. And that's kind of where I am tonight, as you can imagine. So we are going to work our way towards Pigeon Pose. In the moment, go ahead and take the muscles of the thigh, move the flesh away from the body and towards the knee. And then take your thumb into the crease of the knee and gently draw the calf muscle away from the body as well, towards the front of the mat. And maybe already you're beginning to sense a release, a letting go in those muscles of the hip. And maybe not. I invite you to take one hand to your heart today. And closing your eyes, spine breath. Begin to find a deeper breath, inhaling through the nose, exhaling as well through the nose. This breath that fully fills the lungs, front to back and side to side. Trusting in God's faithfulness, in his love for all of his creatures. Trusting also that he knows the way. He truly, truly knows what's best for you in this moment. Take your hands to your rib cage, thumbs behind, fingers around the rib cage, and breathe that deep breath into the rib cage, feeling those ribs expand and contract. And as the ribs contract, as they knit together and draw in, feel the support of your God. Jesus wrapping his arms around you and holding you tight. One more breath here. As you're ready, bring your hands down to your belly. Nice deep breath in. Can you find freedom in the body? Breathing all the way down towards the pelvic floor, the belly rising and falling with breath. As you're ready, bow your head. Find the stretch down the neck, across the shoulders, maybe even into the back. Take one more breath here. And on that next inhale, bring the arms up and overhead, palms together and hands to heart. Thumbs to collarbone, begin to lift the heart up. Let the shoulders relax, find the cow pose. Find that natural curve of the neck as you look up. Open to miracles, open to healing, open to all that God has for you. One more breath here. As you're ready, exhale, hands down to the legs. And I invite you to go ahead and come off the mat, or off the block, onto the mat. And if you have blocks, maybe bringing them to the side, either side of your legs. Bringing the feet forward, still on top of those sitting bones. Begin to lift the knees up and down a few times. So check in here. How do the inner thighs feel, those adductor muscles? How about the tight muscles of the groin? And maybe you're very flexible here and those knees kind of just come all the way down to the floor and it feels really good. I remember once that a teacher told me that stretching only feels good to flexible people. So if you're like me and don't have a lot of external rotation here, this pose may never really feel good, but can you find that tension that leads to release? Wherever you are, knees on the floor, knees on the blocks, engaging through the abdominals, lengthen through the spine, and hinge at the hips as you draw the body forward. And I invite you today to keep that back straight. So you're just folding over like the lid on a box. Maybe you take the hands to the base of the feet and massage them out. What's going on in the feet today? And leaving the little toe and the outside of the heel together, maybe you can open up the feet a little bit. So the insides of my feet, the outsides of my feet on the bottom are still touching, but my feet are cupped. Take 2 more breaths here. Go ahead and take your hands underneath the legs. Gently bring the knees up. Bring any props that you have towards the front edge of the mat. Hands behind you. I invite you to take your feet out a little bit wide and just gently drop the knees to the center of the mat, kind of internally rotating and resetting here. Then take that right leg out in front of you and off to the side. So engaging through the abdominals, rotate towards that leg, activate the muscles of the leg, pressing the heel, drawing the toes in a little bit towards the knee. Exhaling, take a deep breath in as you hinge from the hips, or deep breath out. Inhaling, rise up, back and forth here. So checking in across the upper back, the lower back, the hips, the hamstrings, maybe even the calf muscles in the feet. And as you're ready, hinge forward at that hip, fold over that leg, and find your stretch. Gently engage the abdominals a little bit more. Maybe find some traction as this bent foot, the foot of the bent knee, my left foot, presses against your thigh. Stay here for one more breath. And then take the outside hand to the thigh. Go ahead and press down. Take 2 breaths here. And then deep breath in, rise up. Exhale, come forward again and just notice. Has the release shifted at all? One more breath here. Hands to either side of the leg. Go ahead and pinwheel this right leg back behind you. So knees are bent at a 90-degree angle. Pancake your hands one on top of the other. Come to the center of that front thigh and just press down and up here a few times. And then as you're ready, hands to either side of the knee. Go ahead and come forward, bringing the body over the legs. So the body is centered over that leg and support the head. Maybe for you, that means using a block. Maybe for you, that means that head is all the way down on the mat. Flex your feet, engaging the muscles of the legs and protecting the knees. Soften the belly. Lengthen the spine. And take one more breath here. Pressing into your hands, rise up. Go ahead and bring that back leg across the front leg. Begin to find a twist. Deep breath in, raise the arms up, reach for the sky, let the shoulders drop. Gently twist, twisting towards that lifted knee. Go ahead and drop the back arm, bring the front arm across to whatever works for you. And maybe you can find a hip stretch here as well. As you're ready, release and unwind. And take that left leg out to the side. So we're going to repeat this sequence on the other side. Engage the muscles of the leg, flex the foot, even bend the toes a little bit towards you. Hinge at that hip as you exhale forward, inhale back. Notice, does everything feel pretty much the same on this side? Is it more flexible, less flexible? One more time here. And as you're ready, come forward and settle here. So find the hamstring stretch. How is it different from the stretch on the other side? Can you relax the shoulders and the upper back a little more? Maybe you can relax the muscles of the face as well. Go ahead and take that left hand to the thigh. 2 breaths here as you press the thigh down into the mat. On that next inhale, rise up. And one more time, exhale forward and just notice, has the stretch shifted? What do you notice? One more breath here. Gently pressing into your hands, come up. Find that pinwheel again. So again, that 90-degree angle, shins parallel with the different edges of the mat. And then pancake your hands with the other hand on top this time. If you can remember, I'm not sure I have that. But go ahead and just press down and up in the center of that front thigh. And one more time here. And as you're ready, center the body over the leg and fold the body over. Support your head. Soften the abdominals and lengthen through the spine and find your stretch. And maybe you flex the feet and engage the muscles of the legs a little more. Notice what happens if you engage the abdominals. Just a different stretch, different sensations. One more breath here. Gently pressing into your hands, rise up. Bring that back leg around the front. Find your twist as those arms rise up again. Again, just reach one shoulder up and the other. Are you carrying tension in your shoulders today? And can you let those shoulders release? And that left arm comes behind you as you twist towards that lifted leg. Bring the arm across wherever works for you. Find your twist. Find your breath. As you're ready, come back to center. Go ahead and come forward onto your hands and knees into table. Fingers spread wide. Go ahead and press through the base of the first finger, pinky finger, each side of the wrist. A little bubble of air in the palm of the hand. Eyes of the elbows turned inward. And from here, find cat. Back rising to the sky, head dropping. And cow. Finding the sway in the back as the gaze comes forward to where the wall meets the floor. And back and forth here, cat to cow. And 2 more times here. What do you notice in the hips? Can you lead with the pelvic tilt today? Meet me back at center and take your hips off to the left and then draw a circle all the way back as the hips come to the heels and to the right and forward and all the way around. 2 more times. Again, using this as a check-in. What's going on in the muscles of the hips, the sides of the body. As you're ready, go the other direction. Does movement to one side feel more natural than the other? As you're ready, come back to table and meet me there. Bring those hands, one hand print forward. Meet me in that kneeling plank and continuing to warm up the body. Just come down to the mat. Forearms to the side. Take a nice deep breath in as you rise into Sphinx. Exhale out of it. Come in and out of Sphinx a few more times. And then as you're ready, press into your forearms, press down with the tops of the feet, and find Sphinx, opening up shoulder to shoulder. Feeling the shoulder blades glide down the back. Maybe you can engage a little bit more through the quadriceps or the abdominals. As you're ready, exhale and hands come back to the rib cage, hips come back to heels, find child's pose. And deep breath in, rise up into a kneeling mountain and exhale into child. Come forward into a kneeling plank and exhale to the mat. Rise into Sphinx and draw back to child's pose. So 2 more times. Kneeling mountain to child. And plank to the mat. Can you lead with your breath? Connect breath to movement. And Sphinx to child. And one more time, just establishing your own pace to this practice. Kneeling mountain to child, plank to the mat, and Sphinx to child. Stay in child for 3 more breaths. Again, in today's practice, seeking surrender. Finding humility. Rise back up into table, curl the toes under, and bring your knees into your rib cage, letting your head drop in between your arms, and shake your head out no and yes. And gently pedal through your feet, moving your hips side to side. Taking a deep breath in, heels rise. And exhaling, heels come down to the mat. On the next inhale, raise that right leg up, heel to hip, knee to sky. Open up the front of the body. And draw the gaze forward as that foot comes all the way through the hands and that back knee taps down and up. How does the psoas feel? The hip on that left side, the front of the hip. And gently drop that back knee down. Take a nice deep breath in as you press into the hands and draw the hips back. Find a hamstring stretch here. And just come back and forth with that hamstring stretch, and maybe you press into the hands, or maybe your hands are on a block. Just back and forth. And as you're ready, find the hamstring stretch. Settle there, maybe drawing this left hip in, hugging it towards center, and maybe you flex this foot that's in front of you. Exhaling, come forward, knee over ankle. Go ahead and move any props that you have off to the side. Raise the back leg, bring the front foot to the back, meet me in plank. And maybe you come down in a kneeling plank, or maybe you come down in grasshopper. Find your back bend. And meet me in downward facing dog. Stay here as you find breath, shaking your head out no and yes. And on that next inhale, left leg rises high, heel to hip, knee to sky, open up. And then raise that leg up to the center, gaze forward, bring the foot all the way through the hands. And this time it's the right knee that taps down and up. So again, exploring. How does that psoas feel? As you're ready, let that knee come down to the mat. Hands to either side of that front foot, or maybe using blocks, begin to straighten and bend that front leg. Again, can you draw straight back without winging the hips out to the side? Feeling that right hip hug in towards, or the right thigh hug in towards the hip. Find the hamstring stretch. Settle in. Maybe you press the foot to the floor. That's one sensation. Maybe you flex the foot and bring the toes towards your knee. It's a different stretch, slightly. Find your stretch. One more breath here. And bring the knee over the ankle, blocks off to the side, hands to either side of the foot, raise that back leg, bring it forward to meet the front, bending the knees. Find that first forward fold as you hold on to the elbows, gently just rock side to side. And then hands to shins, rise up halfway and exhale down. Take a nice deep breath in as you come all the way up. Hands to heart. And then interlace the fingers, pressing the palms away from you. Bring those arms all the way up, palms to sky. Again, maybe walking those shoulders up towards your ears, and then let the shoulders drop. And pressing into that left foot, come over to the right. And pressing into that right foot, come over to the left. And deep breath in, arms rise, and exhale. Arms come down to the side, forward fold. Hands to shins, rise up halfway. Exhaling, come down, one leg back and then the other. Press into plank. From plank, find your flow to the mat, into a back bend. Breathing your way into downward facing dog. Stay in downward dog for one more breath. What do you notice? On the next inhale, right leg rises high, heel to hip, knee to sky. Open up. And then bring that leg up to the ceiling, lift that other heel and float the foot all the way through and drop the back knee and go ahead and toe heel this front foot off the mat. Hands, fingers spread wide, wrists underneath shoulders. Drop into that back hip. Stay here. Go ahead and take that right hand to the inside of that left hip. Keep the foot flat in the mat. Press the leg into the hand and the hand into the leg. And maybe as you do that, you also find a stretch in the psoas of that back leg. You can stay here, or maybe you flex that back foot and raise that heel up, finding a quadricep stretch, a little bit of work in those hamstrings. One more breath here. As you're ready, release. Toe heel as that leg comes back to center. Raise the back knee up, rise into your lunge. And exhale, right hand to the small of the back, left arm comes across, find your twist. Open up here, nice deep breath in. And exhale into the twist, extending through that back leg. As you're ready, cartwheel those hands forward, hands to either side of that foot. Bring the back foot to the front. Find your forward fold. Hands to shins, rise up halfway and exhale down. Deep breath in, come all the way up. This time make a steeple with your fingers. Press into that left foot as the arms come over to the right. And find that side bend on the other side. And then exhale as those hands come down and you find your forward fold. And hands to shins, rise up halfway and exhale down, and one leg back and then the other, and meet me in plank. And from plank, come all the way down to the mat and find your back bend. And curling the toes under, meet me in downward facing dog. And check in and notice, is there a shift in the right side compared to the left? And maybe there is, and maybe there's not. What do you notice? On that next inhale, the left leg rises high. And gaze forward, the foot comes all the way through. Back knee drops. And the front foot comes toe heel to the side of the mat. So my heel is still on the mat. My toes are now angled off the mat. Begin to drop into the stretch a little bit, but keep it supported. So imagine this right hip kind of scooping forward. Now you're going to take the right hand to the center of that left thigh. Gently press, the foot stays flat on the floor. Press the hand into the thigh into the hand, create the traction. Maybe you find a twist. Maybe you flex that back foot and bring the heel up towards the hips, adding a quadricep stretch, a little work in the hamstrings. What feels best for your head? Where are you looking? One more breath. And release and unwind and toe heel that front foot to the center and raise that back knee up. Rise up into your lunge. And as you find that strong lunge, bring that left hand to the small of the back, that right arm across. Find breath here. As you're ready, cartwheel the arms forward to either side of the foot. Go ahead and bring the back foot forward, hands to shins, rise up halfway. Exhale, find your forward fold. And then pushing through your feet, come all the way up. Hands to palms together, hands come down in prayer. Stay here and check in for 3 breaths. So just find your mountain pose. What does it feel like to stand strong in faith? And the next inhale, arms rise, exhale, forward fold. And hands to shins, rise up halfway, and exhale down, and one leg back and then the other, and meet me in plank. And from plank, come down towards the mat and rise into your back bend, and breathe your way into downward facing dog, meeting me there. And stay here and check in. Notice how it feels. On the next inhale, the right leg rises, heel to hip, knee to sky. Flex the foot. And then center the leg, but this time coming into flying pigeon, so that knee will come to the inside of that opposite elbow and rise back up again with the toes. And then bring the knee to the outside of the same elbow and rise back up. And this time bring the knee to the nose and kickstand that front leg out. Keep the weight off the front knee until the back leg lands. Top of the foot to the mat. Now that front knee comes down. So beginning to find pigeon here. Go ahead and tent the fingers and rise up. Take that right hand to the center of the thigh and gently, very gently, just begin to move the muscles of the thigh kind of away towards the outside. And look to the other side. Lean to the other side. Can you find a stretch in the outside of the hip here? And then come center with those hands and come forward. So, lots of things to think about here. Think about how the shin is angled on the mat. It's going to be very different for each of us, but it's worth noticing. Maybe your shin is parallel to the mat. Maybe your heel is all the way back to your hip. Support your head, maybe on a block or fists or the mat. Can you square the hips and straighten out that back leg a little more? Wherever you are, stay here for 2 more breaths. It is perfectly acceptable if you have a pillow or a blanket or a block to bring it underneath this elevated hip. One more breath here. As you're ready, gently press into your hands and go ahead and come down to your hip, that right hip. Swing that left leg across, coming into your twist. So looking very similar to where we were when we started today. This time, go ahead and take that left hip thumb into the left hip crease and draw the hip down towards the mat, and then find your twist, just gently wrapping. Can you find a stretch in the hip, maybe also in the lower back? Can the shoulders relax? One more breath here. Exhaling, come to center, and we'll repeat that same sequence in the other side. So go ahead and start in your plank and just draw into downward dog. And check in here for a breath. Notice what you notice. This time it's the left leg that rises, heel to hip, knee to sky. Flex the foot. And then point the foot as you bring it up and draw the gaze forward and bring that knee to the opposite elbow and up. And fly that knee to the outside of the same elbow and up. And bring the knee to center and kickstand that leg out to the side and drop that back knee. And as you begin to straighten out that back leg, maybe come up to your fingertips, lengthening through the spine. And maybe you take that left hand, just again very gently, drawing the muscles of the thigh a little bit out and away from the body. And begin to lean the body towards the foot, away from that knee. And take a deep breath in as the body rises, pressing into the hands. And again, just kind of find the right place for that shin bone and come over the hip. And as the body comes down, again, just notice, is this side fairly similar to the other side in flexibility? Is there a big discrepancy, one side much tighter than the other? And support your head, whatever that looks like. Maybe it's high up on a block. Maybe it's all the way to the mat. Maybe you support that hip with a blanket or a block. Stay here for 3 more breaths. In this moment, in this phase of your life, what steps can you take to show trust in God? And that next inhale, press into your hands and rise up. Bring your weight into that front hip. Swing that back leg all the way around, foot to the mat as you come into your twist. Right thumb's going to come into that hip crease as you draw that hip down a little bit. Go ahead and take that left arm around the shin of that other leg and find your twist from here, bringing that right hand behind you for support. One more breath here. As you're ready, come to center. Go ahead and bring those feet out. Gently draw the knees down side to side as you drop them towards the center of the mat. And then lie down on your back and bring your knees all the way in, giving yourself a hug, and rock side to side here. I invite you to take your hands to your knees, feet off the floor, knees and feet together, and just massage out the lower back as you draw a circle on the ceiling with your knees. And as you're ready, go the other direction. As you're ready, gently draw the knees into the rib cage and away, back and forth here. Bring the feet down to the mat and extend the legs long. And windshield wiper your feet and bounce your knees. And on that next inhale, raise the arms all the way up, palms together, and let the shoulders thump down, and do that once more. And let the hands come all the way down to the mat, palms up. And intentionally fidget as necessary to find Shavasana. And take 3 deep breaths there. I'm going to read to you from Jesus always. Look for me in the hard places of your life, written as if from God to you by the author. Look for me in the hard places of your life. It's easy to find me in answered prayer and beauty and heartfelt joy. But I am also tenderly present in difficulties. In fact, your problems are fertile soil for growing in grace and encountering my loving presence in greater depth and breadth. So search for me in dark times, both past and present. If you're plagued by painful memories and hurtful past experiences, look for me in them. I know all about them, and I am ready to meet you there. Invite me into those broken places and cooperate with me in putting the fragments back together in new ways. If you're walking through tough times in the present, remember to clear your hand. Against the dark backdrop of adversity, the light of my presence shines in transcendent radiance. This light blesses you abundantly, providing both comfort and guidance. I will show you the way forward step by step. And as you walk close to me, I will draw you into deeper, richer intimacy with me. I invite you to stay here a little longer if you can, but if you need to move on with your day, gently begin to bring movement back, wiggling fingers and toes, rotating wrists and ankles. Maybe turning your head side to side from the top of one ear up and over to the top of the other. On that next inhale, bring your arms up and overhead and stretch as long as you can. And as you're ready, bend your knees and roll over onto your side. Support your head with one arm and stay there for a couple of breaths. And that next inhale, press into your hands and come up to a sitting position, finding your sitting bones, eyes still closed if you're comfortable with that. And find breath. Check in one final time, body, mind, and soul. Remembering how you felt when you came to the mat today, noticing how you feel now. What has changed? What has stayed the same? Accepting it as it is. The next inhale, arms rise up and overhead, palms together, and exhaling, bring hands to prayer, bowing your head, joining me in prayer. Holy God, we are so grateful for your ability to see where we cannot, to shine light in the darkest corners. We're thankful for the voices of wisdom that come from your Spirit, that come from the circumstances of our lives and the people around us that you have given us. We thank you that where we can only see darkness, you are light, and there is no darkness in you. It is in the name of Jesus the Christ that we pray. Amen. Thank you for sharing this journey with me. I'll post updates on my dog in the comments below.